This is the Ryobi ONE+ONE brushless 10-inch dual bevel sliding miter saw, the P3650B. We're gonna look at the box, open it up, and see how it does. Stay tuned. All right guys, this has a few things on the box we want to talk about before we get into it, so let's get started. First off, we'll start off with the specifications. This has a no load speed of 4,000 RPMs, 1¼ inch dust port, 5/8 inch blade arbor, 10-inch diameter, a whole range of cutting capacities, and weighs in at 34 pounds. One other thing to note about this miter saw is that it does not come with batteries or a charger, and it does require 2 of the 18-volt ONE+ batteries in order to operate. All right guys, let's go ahead and open it up. All right, a lot of styrofoam on the top here. So we get into it, a couple different compartments. So we can see in this, I'll go ahead and lean it forward here and you can see in there. That's the styrofoam and compartments that contain everything that we need here. So first out we have the dust bag collector. We have our operator's manual, our clamp. This looks like one of the guides. Get this styrofoam out. That's all in that one. And then it looks like it's basically just the saw itself. So go ahead and set this to the side. And here we are. So that is the saw inside the styrofoam. It does have one more zip tie here to hold that down. Pretty heavy duty zip there. Let's see if we can get that there spot. There we go. And a little piece of cardboard to protect the unit here. Now with that, we should be able to just lift this up and out. More styrofoam through the bottom. Oh. Last zip tie there. I think what we're going to do, yeah, handle right here. Let's see if we can get this out of here. So if you don't care about the styrofoam, which most people probably don't, you could just tear this out and it would come out a lot easier. But in our case, where we're trying to keep this styrofoam intact, there you go. So there's that zip tie there that was holding the battery this way, or holding the around the unit that way. Get that zip tie out of the way. We have another zip tie on the back here. Take that off. Very good. A piece of cardboard there. Out of the way. So next we need to unlock the front here. We'll pull that. Lifts up. We have a piece of styrofoam around the blade. There, cardboard and styrofoam holding that. And then another piece of styrofoam here holding the unit there. And there we have it. That's everything in the box. All right guys, so again, out of the box, pretty minimal on the pieces. You have the saw itself, which already has the blade installed, everything ready to go there. It has the attachment dust bag, which just slides on. There's no ring or clasp or anything. It literally just slides on like that. You have the movable sliding fence for the right side. So right here, you just slide that into place, and then there's a lock that allows you to slide it back and forth, lock it in place. And then other than the operator's manual, the only other thing that comes in the box is your clamp. So this is the clamp that can go on the side to hold whatever material it is in place. So as far as features on this saw, let's go through a couple of them. The first one is it has a handle right here in the middle. Now, one thing that you'd want to do if you're carrying it with this handle is lock the slide in place. So there's a lock right here. We can go ahead and lock that in place, and now we have a good handle on the top to pick up this saw. Another thing is that this has a laser. So right next to your trigger, there is a button to activate the laser. As far as the trigger, it does have a safety. There's a little plastic piece that you'll have to activate to allow you to pull the trigger. Otherwise, it is in safety mode. Next, as far as cutting, you can angle the saw up to 45 degrees in both directions. So by releasing the lock in the back here and releasing the quick lock, which will allow it to lock into 0 degrees, you can then angle the saw up to 45 degrees in either direction. So 45 degrees that way, 45 degrees that way, and anything obviously in between. To get to 0, you want to push in the quick lock, hit 0, and then lock it in place. Additionally, it can go in 45 degrees on an angle as well. So by releasing the lock on the front and pulling the lever, you can then adjust the saw 45 degrees to the right, 45 degrees to the left, and again, anything else in between. By releasing the quick lock, it will fall into the 0 position, and then you can tighten the lock on the front. As far as locking the saw down, again, there's the quick lock here, which once you have unlocked, it allows it to rise up, exposing the blade cover or the blade, depending on how it's angled, and then you can slide it back, pull down, and slide it through. Another nice thing is it does include the hex or Allen wrench to tighten your fence. So right here, there's a little rubber gasket that it slides into, and it also has a Phillips head on one side and your Allen or hex on the other side. So to tighten any of the pieces or parts, you do have that quick tool right there, and it has its own onboard storage. As far as the work clamp goes, there are 2 locations that can be installed. The first is on this side next to your tool. There's a hole in the fence to allow this to set, and then you can tighten it down or tighten down whatever piece of wood that you're cutting. The other option is on this side. On the opposite side, there is a spot for it. Obviously, if you don't have the fence riser in place, or if you adjust the riser out, then you can use the clamp on this side as well. A couple things that are always good to do when you first get a saw is check all of the screws or all of the bolts on the saw to make sure that they're tight, including the saw blade itself. Obviously, you'll also want to check things like the level. This saw has most of its feet permanent, but the front foot is adjustable. You can adjust this front foot by twisting it in or out to give you that level on the front. Additionally, another thing that you'll want to do is use a square on the blade and your fence to make sure your fence is in line so that your cuts aren't slightly off one way or the other. Surprisingly, after checking both the square and the tightness of the screws and bolts on this saw, they were actually fairly tight. Didn't find any loose screws, and the fence was already square. Now, it is a single piece fence, which means that you can't adjust one side without adjusting the other. So I'm not sure how that's going to perform long term, but right now it seems to have kept the blade and the fence square on both sides, which is really nice. Another thing to note is the blade is a Ryobi 40 tooth carbide blade, and there is not a included or onboard blade adjustment tool. So you'll need to have your own tools to adjust or remove the blade. One thing that is nice though, it is a single side locking 1/2 inch bolt. So you only need 1/2 inch wrench to adjust, lock, or remove the blade. Again, this is the ONE+ONE system, so there is no power cord or cable. It uses 2 of the Ryobi batteries, recommending the 4 amp hour batteries. It is a brushless tool, however, it doesn't have the new contacts for the high performance Ryobi ONE+ batteries. So there's no additional power that it's going to receive or sensors read out for those new batteries. So your standard lithium plus batteries will work just fine and will operate the same way that the new HP batteries will operate with this specific brushless tool. But the battery terminals are on the top, so one battery here and one battery here, both batteries in place. From here we can now activate the laser. If we turn on the button right here, we'll activate the laser, and we can see that here. There is a laser adjustment right here where we can adjust the laser. If we move the slide guard out of the way, there we go. We can adjust the laser left to right. If the laser, for whatever reason, gets out of whack, we can adjust that accordingly. One thing that's nice is that the laser does turn off after a few seconds. However, that could get annoying if you had to keep activating the laser while you're using it, but it is going to save your battery life not having the laser on permanently. All right guys, like always, we'll pull up the decibel counter and give you a readout. For this, we'll stand as you would normally, right pretty close to the saw. So we'll come over to this side again and we'll slide it back here. Go ahead and hit the safety and give it a go. So not too bad, about what we would have expected for a saw. Pretty loud, about 95 decibels or so. And that's about on par with what we would have expected. All right guys, the next thing we want to do is a couple quick cuts. Now, these aren't full test cuts. We've just got a couple pieces of material, 2x4, some of this melamine board that we're going to cut through at just a little bit longer, but eventually we'll want to do obviously bigger pieces of wood and bigger tests. But just as a quick initial idea of how this saw does, we'll do a couple quick cuts here. This one almost 12 inches long here. We're going to go ahead and pull the saw out, and one thing you'll notice is when we pull the trigger, it automatically activates the laser, which is nice. So you can either press the button and activate the laser, or if you pull the trigger, it will activate the laser as well. So we'll go ahead and do, again, a couple quick cuts here, just so you can see how that goes. So guys, it's not a full comprehensive test, but as far as initial thoughts, it is plenty of power, has more than enough power to run through these 2x4s and other pieces of wood. Not a problem at all. Obviously, we'll wait for final judgment until we've put it through some bigger tests, some harder wood, and maybe some of the 4x4s and things like that that are going to give it a little bit more of a struggle. But for just your average everyday cutting, or if you're out on the job site, not a bad option as far as a cordless miter saw. So guys, another thing we noticed as we were moving it around is it is actually pretty easy to carry around. The handle placement is good, and there's additional places to grip or grab the saw that make it actually pretty easy to move and transport, which is impressive for a saw at 34 pounds and big and awkward in the way that it is. It was actually fairly easy to transport, a lot easier than what we expected. And the fact that there's so much metal on this particular saw. The plastic pieces are very limited, to the handle on the top, which is actually really durable, to the handle and the battery terminals, which are plastic, but again, also very durable. And then the other plastic pieces are minimal, various pieces around the saw. But the rest of the parts on this saw are metal and very sturdy. So guys, overall, our first impressions is really good. It performs well. It's quality pieces, quality parts, a little bit more than what we expected. We're excited to put it through some other tests. But as far as a portable 10-inch miter saw that uses 2 batteries, we give it 2 thumbs up. So guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to give us the thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe. Check out our website, Facebook, and other videos on our channel for more information on what we're doing. And as always, comment below to let us know what tool you want to see next. Thanks for watching. Strange, okay. Impressive, actually. Pretty impressed. Hold on.